Welcome r/EntitledParents. She would rather risk killing her child than be wrong. I was sitting around reading stories here, and I realized I had a perfect story. The entitled parent is my mother and her insane need to be right. When I was younger, my father had a massive heart attack, the result being that we had to change the family diet to something more heart healthy. Lots of people go to seafood for heart healthy diets because of all the healthy oils and fats, so shellfish and fish were a large part of the household. One night, after we had a shrimp pasta, I started getting this weird feeling all over my body. I felt like my whole body was on fire, and like my nose was stuffed, so I had to take deep breaths through my mouth. I looked at my arms and giant red splotches started to appear all over me. At this point I call my mother over and exclaim that I must be allergic to shrimp. She looks at me and replies, "It doesn't look bad. Just go to sleep." The entire night I tossed and turned, unable to catch my breath or get away from the relentless heat oozing off of my skin. I decided that day I would never have shrimp again. The next couple times my mother made a meal with shrimp, I would politely decline and make food for myself. Even though I made my own food from scratch, I was still feeling strange after the meal. It was starting to get to the point I would be gasping for air, barely able to swallow, and wheezing. I assumed that being in the same room when they cooked shrimp might be enough to make me feel sick. I mentioned this to my mother and got an irritated sigh and eye roll. "You are not allergic to shrimp." So the next time dinner with shrimp rolls around, I just don't say anything. The symptoms come on as usual, but I just kept it to myself. Apparently the lack of mentioning how bad I felt was interpreted as me admitting I was fine. My mother walks over all proud of herself and sits down next to me. "See, I've been rubbing shrimp on your utensils before you eat for a while and you're perfectly fine." Needless to say, I eventually went full anaphylaxis, unfortunately from something other than shrimp, while I was student teaching, and had to go see an allergist. After my allergy panel, a doctor declared a very long list of foods, plants, and molds I was allergic to. Guess what was on the deathly allergic list? Shrimp. My mother's reaction when I pointed it out? She shrugged and said, "Oops. That was about a decade ago, and I still can't eat food she has prepared." She just tested me again, with onions this time, just last year. She tells me there are no spices on things, and then remembers when my throat starts closing up, and I have to devour Benadryl. The worst part is, my father knows, and doesn't warn me. So that's my story of my mother preferring being correct over me being alive. I actually have a ton more of these. If anyone finds my random childhood stories interesting, I might post more. Thanks for reading. Edit. Oh my goodness, I posted this before taking a nap and woke up to all of this support and concern. I appreciate it all so very much. To put some fears aside, I no longer live with my parents and are on light contact with them. My husband takes my allergies very seriously. He doesn't even allow them in the house. So I'm safe from the poisonings. Also, I know a lot of people don't understand why I'm in contact at all. The cycle of abuse is a crazy thing. Especially when it's all you know. You think it's normal until you escape. I'm in massive amounts of therapy and working on my mental and physical health. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. Edit 2. I posted another story about being paid for babysitting with a story from my mother about how I was a happy baby. I sadly have no idea how to link things, or I'd put it here. Sorry about that. I was thinking the same thing. I'm so worried about allergies. My husband is allergic to penicillin. When my kids were prescribed it, I made sure to tell the doctor and pharmacist. I asked the pharmacist what the first sign of reaction was, and sat the kids down right there in the store, and gave them their first dose just in case. More because we live in the country, and it would be a lot quicker to get to the ER from there, along with having someone with some kind of medical training there. Once my daughter was eating kiwi, and said her throat felt tingly. I told her to stop eating it, and was checking on her for a couple hours. I don't know if she's got a tiny reaction, but I still haven't gotten kiwi, because if she is, I don't want to make it worse. Allergies are no joke. I don't know why these crazy people want to play games with them. I don't even understand how people can react like this. We have a friend who was asking why so many people like to eat bananas, and then went into how she hates how it makes her tongue go all numb or fuzzy. We all froze and told her how that was not normal at all. Then told her to never eat bananas again please. That's like my allergy to aloe. People will gift me with things or have a shared use item and I'll check for aloe and they get offended, but sorry, I'm not getting a rash, just to spare your inconsiderate feelings. Carrots, bananas, melons, etc. Guess who keeps trying to get me to try again just in case something's changed? In the last 30 years. Got tested and took the shots for a year. Had 3 bad reactions. Usually they kick you off the program at the clinic I went to after the first, because life. Mom argued to keep me going. The third time the doctor walked me down to the car where she was waiting after they saved my life yet again and told her if she tries bringing me back again he'd call the cops. Guess who doesn't remember that conversation? To this day I will never forget the look on the poor nurse's face when she saw how bad my reaction was. Swollen face, massive hives, closed throat. Keep in mind this woman looked like she was an army nurse that could have kicked Hitler's butt on her lunch break before getting back to some real work. Not a soft lady, but still really nice. If anyone who might recognize her comes across this, I love you still, Marty nurses. I miss shrimp too, but I'd rather not have another bout of anaphylaxis. Ugh. Hell, I've almost died during a routine physical. Had to get a tuberculosis test before college, and they swabbed the site with rubbing alcohol, as one usually does. Within 5 minutes I was in anaphylaxis, and the only reason I didn't die was because my mom was in the room and had Benadryl in her purse. She always carries it because of my dad's allergies. If he even touches his tongue with a tree nut or piece of fish, he'll go into anaphylaxis and have to go to hospital. Thankfully all family members on both sides and my in-laws are super careful. My husband almost decked a doctor for using hand sanitizer around me. That's not just the story of your mother preferring to be correct over you being alive. That's also the story of constant, borderline psychotic abuse and an enabler parent that did nothing but sit and watch while you unknowingly poisoned yourself. That's one of the worst stories I've ever read on here. I'm so sorry, that must have been unbearable. I really hope there's light at the end of the tunnel for you. You absolutely deserve it. Dude, you seriously need to stop eating any of her cooking like ever. It is true that allergies sometimes get better over time, but it is also true that they can get worse. Now my knowledge is limited as I work a medical admin job, but we used to administer allergy shots. They give tiny doses over a long period of time of whatever you're allergic to and hopefully it will cure you of it. Every time someone came in for that allergy shot we had to watch them like a hawk in case they had an allergic reaction. Since we are a small clinic we did have to send some of them to the nearest hospital. The reason we had to do that is because sometimes when you keep introducing something that your body rejects your body can start rejecting it more. I know that sounds confusing, but it's a real thing. If you aren't careful and you keep introducing this stuff that your body finds harmful you might die because the Benadryl or EpiPen isn't working fast enough. When I was in high school, someone threw a dead dog in our well, which we drank from, but not cooked with for some reason, and as it started to decompose my teenage skin started breaking out in spades and I also got diarrhea. I told my mother there was short hair in the water and that I wasn't feeling okay. She told me to suck it up. Weeks passed before she herself discovered hair caught on the bucket chain and had my dad look inside the well to discover the large bloated dog in there, weighed down by rocks in its stomach. I never got any sort of treatment or checks. The entitlement of these idiots, I swear. One of my friend's mom thought I was an idiot for claiming my dog is allergic to chicken. Dogs can't be allergic. How would you even know? They can't tell you. Type comments. I explained it took the vet and I quite a few experiments with different foods and allergy tests to figure it out was chicken and soy. She fucking fed my dog chicken and proudly said see he's fine. Some Benadryl later, had to deal with itchy skin doggo for a day or so. I yelled that she'd be getting my vet bill if something bad happened. She is no longer allowed around my dogs. Anytime my dogs come with me for a visit, my friend confirms his mother will not be over.